What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I will be showing you how to replace your trigger with the OEM factory performance trigger from Rost Martin. This is the Rost Martin RM1C. Originally I got it like this, and I decided to upgrade it to the ported version. But today, just for demonstration purposes, I'll just be using the upper. We don't even need it. Just wanted to demonstrate the trigger. So before I swap out the performance trigger, let me just check what the current trigger weight is. I have the California version. I'm going to be talking about that later on. I have the California version installed when I bought it, but I don't live in California. We don't have the mag lock restriction. I don't need the mag lock trigger. So one of the main reasons that I decided to change it was that, and secondly was the pull weight. I will be making another video on how to get rid of the mag lock feature if you don't live in California, but that's a video for another day. But just to quickly demonstrate what the mag lock is, without the mag lock installed, without the magazine inside, this thing doesn't, the trigger doesn't pull. And once you put the magazine inside, you're able to pull the trigger. And then we'll have to drop the mag and pull again. Now, before I swap out the triggers, I'm going to be checking the trigger pull weight. I have this janky Wheeler trigger weight, so I will be testing it with that. It's not going to be 100% accurate, obviously. It will just demonstrate what how heavy the pull is. So yeah, first let me just pull this, and right now it's at 0. Pull. Oof, this is a heavy trigger. So as you can see, this is a 5.5-pound pull. Let's just do another test. I just quickly did that. Yeah. Another pull test, 5.5. For the first attempt was 5.5. Second attempt. Let's zero it out. And yeah. Pull. Again, that's about 5.2, which is pretty heavy for me. I like it. I like my pull weight around 4, 3.5, and 4.2 at least. At the max, 4.2. So yeah, this is pretty heavy. A third one, just best out of 3. But generally, it's above 5 pounds, which is ridiculously heavy, in my opinion. Okay, pull. Yeah, 5.4-ish. So yeah, that's how heavy it is right now. Let's upgrade it and see how much weight we can take off this trigger. So in order to take it down, make sure it's clear, chamber is clear, visually inspect that the chamber is clear, drop the magazine. Oh, I need the mag. This is one of the reasons I hate the mag lock. After inspecting, I still have to put this thing back to be able to pull the trigger. What if there's what if I accidentally pick up something? I usually have like mags around like this. I mean, this is not Ross Martin, but I usually have mags that are loaded. So if I have to put the magazine in to pull the trigger just to make sure it's clear, just terrible. This is a terrible idea. I don't think it's smart to do that. But anyway, in order to take it down, I need to pull the trigger. So pull it like this and comes off. So we don't need the upper anymore. So I'm going to put it to the side and I'm going to focus on this. So now I'm gonna drop the magazine. I don't need it anymore. So magazine to the side. First things first, you need a few things before you start this process. You're gonna need at least a couple of punches. One is enough, to be honest, but I this is just to help finish out the last part. You'll see. So I'm using a punch that is 3 by 32. I don't know if it's coming through. 3 by 32 punch and a 1 by 8 punch. And these are roll pin punches. If you see here, they have the little nubs that go into the roll pins, and Rost Martin has roll pins in it. A hammer, a gunsmith hammer is preferred, but any hammer would work. Any small hammer, not not too heavy. So this came with the punch set, so this is perfect. Works for me. And a flathead just to pry open a little bit. If you have a plastic flathead type prying tools, those are way better. I don't have that, so I'm going to be using a flathead, and I'm going to be careful not to scratch the plastic. Another thing that I would like to note is Ross Martin is an FCU system handgun, meaning that the actual serialized part of the firearm is the FCU, the fire control unit, which is this thing. And you'll see when I take it down. I don't understand why they don't advertise it, but Ruger RXM is benefiting from it. Echelon, SIG P365, they're all advertising it the hell out of it. I don't know why Ross Martin doesn't advertise that they are FCU systems. I don't know why other companies are not building grip modules for them, but that's a story for another day. To start the takedown, first you take out the sear housing. You put this little knob inside the circle and start hammering it out. So after we take out the first punch with the first roll pin, the sear housing, you can just pull it. It might be tight when it's brand new. I've done this a few times, so mine pops up easily, but you could just pull it with your hands and leave it there. Don't take it out yet. And now start taking out the roll pin on this side, on the locking block side. And this one is going to be a bit tighter. I have taken it in and out a few times, but still it's pretty tight. Now that that's out, we start lightly prying on this side. You can try with your hand, but I think it's pretty tight. It's in there, like pretty snug. So you can just lightly, it will come out lightly so that you don't scratch your plastic here, your polymer. And then once you see this little slit here, you can just put it there, pry up, maybe twist it like this, up. Now it's out. Be careful. I mean, there's nothing that's going to fly, but just to be safe, carefully pull it out. And now it's out. So this is the FCU system. Like I said, the serial number is on this side, and it shows up in here. This frame is not serialized. This is just a piece of plastic. This is not a firearm. And then take out the sear housing. Yeah, forgot to say that. So we will put this to the side. Now, this part is easy, taking out the trigger, but just remember how the spring is set. There's only one spring that controls the trigger and the slide lock, and that connects all three of them, and the locking block together. So make sure that you remember how it's set. There is this little tab on the slide lock that shows that has like the spring part that's bent. So just remember how it's set. Otherwise, it might take you a while to put this thing back together. The pin itself is very light. You can actually move it with your hand. So if you push it to one side and pull it out, you can easily take it out. Now the spring might fly, so just hold it all together like this. How I usually do it, like one finger on this side, one finger in the middle, and one up top, and just pull out the trigger so that the spring just doesn't fly out. Now slowly move it and spring is out. Remember, like the alignment is going to be, it's easy to remember, to be honest. There's a little slit, so this part, the one that doesn't have the little hook, this part goes here, and the bent part of the spring faces out like this. So this is how it's going to go. So now we take our old trigger, set it aside. We have the performance trigger. To put it all back together, the way I would start is first we align the slide lock and the locking block together and just start it off like this. And this is just to make our life easier. Then we put our trigger underneath. Remember, it goes under, not up here. Under, we put our trigger. And again, we push the pin and we just start it off like this. Now that it's started, now the hard part is setting this spring. In order to set the spring, first we push. Yeah, just make sure this lines up. The top of this part, the top of the pin, the trigger pin is flush, so that we'll be able to insert our spring. And this small part, then the one without a hook, that goes down. So we insert like this. Oops. So now that it's flush, just to flush it out, we just use this side of your pin. You could use that and just tap it a bit and hold it like this. Be firm. Don't let the pin slip out. The main reason is I want to align the circle of the spring with the circles, I mean the holes of the trigger. So like I said, this part down, this part facing forward. Insert it through this side. Insert it from the back like this. And I what I usually do is use, a bigger, like this is why I use this one. Use a bigger, or you can use, if you don't have to, you can also use your roll pin just to align the spring with the pin so that the pin can go through. So now I align, push, push, push. Yeah, once it's in, it's easy. Push, push, push. Now it is in. Last part is hooking this spring into the ejector. I mean, sorry, the slide lock. Yeah. Yep. Now the hook is in. Let's make sure it's seated correctly. Now that we got the hook in and this is down, the trigger in, and the FCU is pretty much assembled for the most part. What uh, the first thing I would do is align the trigger bar with the sear housing. We set it up like this. As you can see, this part has to mate with this part has to mate with it has to be seated in between here, so that this is what releases and locks the striker. So it has to sit right here, and uh, it's really difficult to put it after you assemble it. So actually we're going to start the assembly with the sear housing first, but first we have to align and hold it with our hands like this. Wait, yeah, like this. And then uh first thing we do, we thread the trigger in. You can actually thread the trigger in there first. And yeah, yeah, and now we can push it down. It might click, that's okay. And align the locking block. We may have to finagle it a little bit, but usually I prefer starting with this one. And slowly uh, we have to align the trigger pin has to align with this little slot on the frame. So once you have that, push it lightly. Yeah, now it's in. Now it's just pushing it in. You may get a little bit of resistance from the slide lock. You may get a little bit of resistance from the slide lock, but that's okay. And now, because we aligned this and we already started inserting the sear, we can just press these two together, and finally it is in. I suggest you start with the sear housing, otherwise it's just gonna give you a lot of pain. So the easiest way is start with the sear housing and finish with the locking block. So now everything is inserted and aligned. I'm just gonna do a little bit of a check just to make sure. I usually just insert the pin inside the roll pin spot, and because the pin is slightly smaller, I can just align it. Now that it is all aligned, all I gotta do is I usually use a hammer. If you don't have a brass tip hammer, use plastic, because you don't want to damage your roll pin. That would be a catastrophic problem. So yeah, so just tap. Sear housing is secured, but it's not even on one side. It's deeper than the other, so I'm going to use the roll pin again and tap it a bit. Now, yeah, on both sides it is a little bit deeper, so we're good to go. And now we put the other roll pin in. And again, let me just make sure the path is clear, and it is. So now insert, and oh yeah, I almost did it with the metal one. Uh, because brass is not as hard as iron, that's why you use brass. It's just easier to it's just easier to not damage your metal components. That's why you use brass hammers. Keep tapping. Make sure you don't, like, when it gets close. Right now it's still there, so I'm not hitting the frame. Try not to hit your frame with a hammer. Don't want to damage it. Now that it's almost in, I'm just going to use my roll pin and lightly tap it until it's Let's see the other side. It needs a bit more taps. And the reason I use these type of pins is because it has the little hole. It matches up with it and it stops it from deviating and, you know, damaging your roll pin. So that is why. See, it's one good tap. Yeah. Now they're both seated correctly. Everything is good. Now we have movement. Before, because of this little tab, this is the by the way, everything is the same in terms of the geometry of the trigger. The only thing that makes it mag lock is this little tab, and we'll talk about that in another video, but this video is about replacing triggers. So now our trigger is completely replaced, and we will do a trigger pull test and see by how much we improved. Yeah, this is way better feeling than the previous one. And there is no mag lock. I can, without a mag, I can dry fire it, which I think is way better to clear and dry fire than insert a mag and dry fire. That just makes me extremely nervous. Anyway, let's do the pull test. Still 5 pounds. That is crazy. Okay. Trigger is still the same. I am not sure how much of an improvement that I made. The pull weight is exactly the same. Let's see. Okay, that was 5.2. Let's okay, this is 5. Second attempt is 5. Third attempt, again 5. This is a lot more consistent, to be fair. It stayed at 5. The previous one was like 5.5, 5.4, 5.2. But again, I'm not sure how much of in terms of weight, I'm not sure exactly how much we are benefiting from the upgrade, but, and there's a huge but, uh the feel of it is way different than the OEM one, and I can attest to that. I don't Okay, so as you can see, we reduced the pull weight by maybe 0.4, 0.5 at best pounds. And me personally, um, while at the range, the feel was way different between the OEM and the performance trigger. I don't know if I am biased here. There could be a bias there, but I'll put it this way. Would I recommend the trigger upgrade? 100% I do. I will stand behind that. Are you going to get a reduction in weight? Probably no. But this one still sucks. This the one that came with the factory. If I have to choose between the factory and the performance trigger, I'll choose the performance trigger all day. So that's all I would say. Rost Martin is not paying me. I'm actually going out of my way promoting their stuff, just because I like the company and what it stands for. And I feel like Ross Martin is the only reasonable company. I can comfortably say the only reasonable American firearms company that is for the people. So I can't speak for the non-American companies, but the American companies, like everybody's trying to gouge you out of everything. I mean, they provide you with metal mags that are $20. You can get these for 18, I think, if you go on Gunbroker or something. Um, all their accessories are very reasonably priced. I just want to say I'm not getting paid by Ross Martin to say this, to recommend their performance trigger or all that. Um, I would love it if they would pay me, but I'm doing it just out of appreciation because these guys are the most reasonable American companies that exist right now. Every other firearms company is trying to get every single dollar out of you right now, and these guys give you the best possible firearm for the best possible price. Other companies that sell cheaper firearms usually get you with the accessories. There's no catch with these guys. They their accessories are affordable, their firearms are affordable, their quality is great. It's American made, and I think we should support them. But that's just me. And what do you think? Would you upgrade to performance trigger, or are you just gonna stick with the original one? Let me know. Sound off in the comments. And if you like this video and you want me to do more stuff, if you have more questions about the RM1C or any other firearms that I talked about in my channel, just let me know. Thank you all. Appreciate you all. Peace.